Okay, you're live now. Go ahead.
All right, folks. This is Making STEAM with Nathan Stevens. I'm at North Carolina State University, College of Education. And so there's this, I go to a lot of schools and they talk about making STEM projects, and they don't really think about the STEAM part and when it comes to Maker Ed. So where do we go with this, and how do we get started? So we'll just get this is the part where Maker Ed really got started. And so this is when the president in 2012 said we needed to start building and start creating, and we needed to get our students back on track. And so if you notice, it just said science and math, and that's all it said. And the thing is that I like to tell people, anybody can draw a straight line, anybody can draw a curved line. It takes a creative, artistic person to put the curves and the straight lines together to actually make some sort of diagram and drawing. So as we've been exploring the maker opportunities, we've noticed that it's people from all ages. You have teachers, as you see in the bottom picture, that are working on it, as well as students. We're all learners in this process. And it's not as scientific or mathematically oriented as what people believe, because they're just creating with the doodler down at the bottom. They would draw. There were multiple ways they tried to draw a vertical line. Some would try to go straight in the air. Some would draw it flat, and they would both then discuss what was going on. And this goes with makers and hobbyists. And as you see, there's so many tools that can be used for just doing STEM or STEAM and making. And so if you look in the top corner, we have snap kits, and on the right corner you have
Nathan.
Yep.
We don't see anything on your screen right now.
Ah.
Lights are on, but nobody's at home.
We just see your desktop background.
Oh, even better. Let's see. Let's go back to Hangout, and let me see if it gives me that option under share screen. All right, how about that?
There you go.
Okay. Well, that'll make an interesting start to a video. Okay, back to where we were. Do we see a bunch of pictures now?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, as you see on the right side, that's where we did augmented reality with the Colar app, and then we also did some circuit building on the bottom left side. And so these are different things we're now exploring in the College of Education. And how do we go across the curriculum with it? And so that's what we've been doing. So why did this happen? And it's not always a scientific way that this happens. And sometimes it makes an artistic and creative piece that goes with it to try to explain what happens. There's not always a simple solution. And why does this work? And I put this up there because there's a lot of technical writing that now has to be done with out in the real world where students will be going. They have to write the informational text that goes with what they're doing. And this all prepares them for the future. I think we all still believe that the Jetsons are the future, right? So, we want the flying car. We want the other things. And this will lead to curing cancer, hoverboards, going to Mars, and the flying car, because I still want my flying car. And so how are teachers creating right now? They're using the standard digital methods of video recording, graphs, blogs, mind mapping, digital storytelling. And as I said, these are all digital, and so we have to complete the circle. And as much as we do digital pieces, we need to do physical pieces. Or the other way around. We just need to make sure that as much as we say this is great to put online, that there's some sort of tangible piece that they can take back with them. And so in our classes, these are different pieces that we do. We use coding, we do circuits, augmented reality, we use Legos. I'm hopefully going to get into some sewing. That's a little stretch for some folks. Just to say, hey, how does this belong in the College of Education? And then we have 3D Doodler, 3D printing, and we also have a pretty good sized puppet section. There's my friend Sam there, who inspired me to create some of the puppet things I do. So Legos. Legos are God's gift to education. So, and it's just amazing that it's taken so long to start getting infiltrated. So there's different pieces that I'll do. I'll start with the bottom right corner, because that's probably the one that people have seen the least. That's Life of George. If you haven't tried Life of George, it's been discontinued, but you can still get the app. So, and I've got the boards made different sizes, so if you need a board, let me know. But you place the dots on the board, you place your 2D object on there, and once you're done building flat on the board, you snap a picture, and it turns it into a piece of artwork. So what we've done is that we've used this type of idea to create world maps, and so we talk about different biomes and different, and where different people live and how would they live with the different climates. As you see, that's just like the start of a map there. But we have our polar cap at the top and bottom. We have forest that was represented in the green. We had desert in the yellow, and this actually got to be about a 2.5 by 3 foot map when we finished putting it all together. And then we wrote up how all the different parts that were going in it, and we gave each group of students a continent to work with. And so we tied the social studies aspect into the science, and it was a really easy tie-in, and it allowed each class to have their own world and talk about what happened. And it's kind of that same Minecraft idea that goes along. Then in the top corner is We Do. I think most people have seen We Do. We Do is Lego's simplified programming language, as well as small building kits. It comes with 10 books that allows students to create. You can now control it with Scratch 2.0, the web-based version. And so what we did with that is we got in and we created a goalie, and we created a soccer player, and we wrote a story about how to kick, and then we talked about how we looked at how hard you could kick the ball and how hard the goalie can move before the goalie fell down, and we wrote different stories about that. Then we have, in the bottom middle, we have Story Starter, and then we have Build to Express. Both are similar, but you can build different scenes and then use their app, which I could do without. I can use without any other comic creating app. We use the iPad devices, and so we create digital stories that way by creating scenes and then putting bubbles, and then we create these graphic novels. So it's a really good way to get students involved and getting their passion up on something that they play with almost, I would say, on a weekly basis, if not daily basis. And this is Lego Fusion. This was released last week. I actually got a kit as soon as it came out. So this is true Lego augmented reality. So basically, I have the car set. There's also a castle set, a town set. So you can create all these different virtual worlds with the Lego pieces that you build. So if you see on the bottom, on the right side is the real car I built, and that is the virtual scan car I built on the left side. And you build it digitally first, then it tells you how to create it physically, and then you go and do races with your pieces, then you do challenges, and the thing is that you could tell stories with this. And with the town version or the castle version, you can build different castles or different buildings, and you could tell about a life. And then you could talk about the social aspects of what's going on in that town, because it'll ask you, hey, we need a post office here. Can you build us a post office? And so there's different pieces that you can just create and let students explore. And as I showed before, the Kolar app, we use that as story starter activities, where students will color it and scan. And let me tell you, I've done this with pre-service teachers all the way down to first graders. Everybody loves to color. There's no age limitation on this for students, but this is something we use as story builders, and because we allow them to use the activity from the Kolar app and then as the lead in to the story, and they talk about the animal. They can talk about the colorations, like with the dinosaur. What were the red spots for? What camouflage was that? And so how does that work and how did that work with the environment that they lived in? Because you could see that the spots are the same color as the mountain, so it allowed them to blend in with their environment. Then 3D printing, the holy grail of education right now. As you see, these are just a few items. I've got more coming up about 3D printing. We've got I put the Mr. Wolf there on the left side. We made him with the Charmer app, which is a beta app right now from Autodesk. Basically, you can put any picture on it, and it will make it a charm. And then on the right side, you'll see this same Mr. Wolf in a cookie cutter format. And I did find out through our university legal that I can give away the cookie cutter. I cannot give away the charm. So that's a thing to remember when you start building pieces for your school, is that silhouettes are okay. But then we started making Play-Doh cutters and other pieces. So we kind of started taking virtual designs from Cookie Caster, which is a website, and that allowed us to create punches and create digital pieces. And soon we're going to make exploding clay men. You put baking soda and vinegar inside of a little clay guy, and he explodes. And we're going to do some stop motion and some other pieces with that. And then also at the bottom, I created badges for our literary festival with Tinkercad. And then leads me into, all right, how do we tie the books into 3D printing? And so with the help of Powell Elementary School in Raleigh, North Carolina, had a one school, one book program called the Healthy Monster Book, which you see in the right top corner. And after we read the book, we had the students design PE equipment or recreation equipment that they would want to go play on. And so as you see, these are all different designs that they came up with. And so we also talked about design intent and how it actually what we had to do to build on the printer. So you'll see in the left corner is the same design in the bottom right corner, but the bottom right corner, we talked about how you have to have supports if you're going to have vertical pieces in there. And so we tied the book back to the design, and then at the end, we printed all of their designs out, and so they could go back. And so they had a one school, one book day, and so this was their project that they talked to all their other classes, and they also talked to parents groups at that night for their event. And this is probably the most powerful piece of Maker Ed that I have done so far, because we had a Latino student stand up in front of 2 classes and talk to 60 kids. He has not done much in class. He did not talk very much at all, but this one project somehow brought him out of the shell that allowed him that's the ownership and the passion he had for this project allowed him to bypass what was holding him back to talk to the class. And that is the one thing that Maker Ed and STEAM gives students, is that passion-based learning. And I don't know if you guys have seen Madio. This is something we're recently working on. It came out probably a month or 2 ago, but you can create your own creatures now. So as you can see, it's snapped together creatures, and then it gives you the design, the printout. So you see the top is the virtual, and the bottom is the digital, or actually a physical creation that we made. And we're going to, the nice part about these is that the joints are really tight, so you can do really good stop motion with these. And so we're going to make our own stop motion videos that that ties the script in, the audio recording, the lighting, as well as the actual design of the character, figuring out what the character does. And then we may even put the green screen in the background, so then we can actually then place a setting that goes with a story that they wrote. And so we're looking at different ways to tie in the pieces, the physical pieces, to what's written as a text. And then Blockify. Blockify is basically Minecraft in an app that you can 3D print out. And if you notice, there's a lot here on 3D printing because it's just so open-ended for students and what they can do. And it releases the artistic component as well as this scientific and mathematical component that's in them. And as you see in the top corner is the physical version of the bottom right corner. So that's my space station I created. And then I had students create a boat challenge. And so we tried to say, can we make a physical boat that could hold more weight, and how big can we make it? And we had yet to figure out how this works. And I see that Kyle is telling me to wrap it up. So I'll do a quick burn through the last slides. And if you want to, I'm at Nathan_Stevens on Twitter. You can ask me about any of this other stuff. 3D Doodler is just a handheld piece of the 3D printer. We're starting to use that with kids who aren't at the design process. There's graphic novels. Let's get through that. There's all our puppet. There's some of our puppets and different projects. You can use puppets as different tutorial settings for PD. It's just something different for kids when they're trying to learn how to use a piece of equipment or a digital tool. There's making coding. As I said before with the Legos, it all ties together, and because with 3D printing it has G code, which then leads them into coding. And there are little bits, and so which are colored-based circuit design, which also can allow for scaffolding, so it ties back, so we can layer different types on there. So let me wrap this up, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Do you want to say this?